Hey there, and welcome to the ADK Rock and Metal channel. I, of course, am Dave. There is no Kirk or Andy with me this evening, but I do have, and I'm going to be very careful with my pronunciation, Gibrer from Solnegre. But if I got it wrong, I apologize. If I got it right, yay!
You got it right.
Thank you. That'll probably be a part. I'll probably only ever have to say your name one more time at the end. So at least I've got it once, at least 50% of the time tonight.
Take the chance.
Welcome to the channel.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's a real pleasure to be here and to be able to talk with you and go through our new record
The new
and
record,
to
yes.
answer anything that you want to ask me.
Well,
Thank
we had obviously the pleasure of breaking your album down, and we spent a good 45 minutes, I think, roughly somewhere in the region of that, going track by track through the new album called the Spiral Labyrinth, and it's a real journey. One of the things I never said during our actual thing, which the actual review of him, I had originally planned to do like you see on the back of books or on the movie posters, like a little phrase. And I forgot to ask the guys to do it for that one, so I didn't. But I'd actually written mine down, and it's a very simple sentence. And this is what I thought at the end of listening to your album: the soundtrack to a lost soul.
That's absolutely right.
That's
Absolutely
that's
point
my,
on.
my that's my experience of listening to the album. I got to the end of it, and I just felt like I'd gone on this journey from start to finish, and it just felt of this. There was an element of isolation of someone who was just completely disconnected on their own on this journey, and almost constantly moving like a boat on the River Styx. You're just moving through this passage, and stuff's moving past you. But that was the experience I had of going through. I don't know how that resonates or what you think about that. But that was my experience of it.
So point on. I mean, it's exactly. I mean, that kind of vibe is really what we wanted to explore with this recording that you reviewed, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. I mean, it's for our viewers. There's that in-depth review on our record, and I have to say that's amazing. I mean, you go song by song, track by track, and riff by riff in some cases. So the idea is that what I think it makes this album different is that it's a real journey. I mean, it's nothing that you pose, or it's not like you're not trying to do poetry with I mean, this kind of empty phrases and so on. This is a real journey. I mean, every and each one of the tracks, it's based on a real event that we passed through, or call it a mental breakdown in some cases, or some bad circumstance around us on others. And what I think is that that's a soundtrack for a lost soul, that's for sure. I mean, and we all all that we participate in this project have a bit of the same kind of background, in the sense that we are not quite social people. I mean, we feel like in some cases we feel like very far away from the common world and the people around us, and we physically and spiritually like to be isolated. So we try to convey say a path to channel these experiences between us, and this is what it is. I mean, each one of the tracks is just a journey through one of these horrible experiences in some cases, enlightening experiences in some other. But by the way, my conclusion could be that you've been point on. I mean, it is what it is. It's a journey through depression, through loneliness, through mental illness, depression. I mean, this kind of vibes that really create a somber mood, and the album is what it is, and goes around all these concepts all the time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was having listened to it now when it first came up on our from the PR company, and we got the press release, and it said Death Doom, and I'm sitting there in the back of my head going, oh god, I've got to listen to a Death Doom album. Normally I'd kind of like say, we'll send this over to Andy, let Andy break it down. If it's a rock album, send it to me, I'll have a listen to it, it's fine. But we had agreed, we were like, no, let's all do this one. Let's get into it. And originally I had, before we even did that particular video where we reviewed your album, I, at the time, was still not going to be reviewing it. It was going to be the other two. And I was just going to host it and just make sure we were kept on track. And then about 24 hours beforehand, I went, do you know what? Actually, no, I'm going to listen to this. And I just so that I've got a reference point so I know what they're talking about. And I listened to it about 3 or 4 times, the album from start to finish, because I just found I was just very immersed in it. And I was so surprised about just some of the elements. And weirdly, for a Death Doom album, how much I actually felt happy and enjoyed the experience, which was very
Well,
surreal experience in some ways.
yeah, maybe. I mean, this may sound topic, but if we manage to get you and take you inside our music, we achieved something which is magnificent. I mean, in general, there's no good or bad music. There's music that pulls you in, or music that just keeps you out, right? And what I think about this record is that we really put what we are and what we were at the time in this recording, and I'm glad that people that is not usually in this kind of vibe of death, doom, and funeral and this kind of sludge things can listen to this, I mean, I got a very positive experience regarding that. I mean, people which is completely outside of the scene, never heard doom, death before. I mean, during the first like 30 seconds, it's like, wow, what's that? But as the song progresses, they just keep and they just stay in, and I think it's a quite enjoyable experience. And because I think it's all about energies, it's all about feelings. I mean, and you can express a particular idea in several different ways, but the idea, it's understandable at the end of the day. I mean, and this is one of the things that which I'm most proud of on this album, that it's really accessible for people that is not usually within this style, but it keeps the heaviness, it keeps the thickness, and it keeps everything as a doom death album, which is what we wanted to do first and foremost. And that is it.
So I want to go back to the right at the start. So the Solnegre, obviously Black Sun.
Yeah,
Sun,
absolutely.
I guess, yeah, Black Sun. Can you give us an idea why pick that name? Because you guys, from my understanding, you've only been really as a band since 2022.
Yeah. We
Which
started
I was
just
really surprised when I found that, because the maturity on this album does not sound like a band that's been together for a year. This sounds like a band that's on their third or fourth album. That's what this felt. The songs were so well constructed. So I'm really interested about how this band came together, and obviously why the band name. Why pick that name as for your project?
Okay, so about the name, as you may know, we are from Mallorca, which is an island on the Mediterranean, very well known. And we have our own language here, which is Mallorquin, which is a language that is being spoken since like forever. And it's close, I mean, it's basically very related to Catalan in Catalonia, Spain, the mainland. And it's quite different to regular Spanish. I mean, we have a whole different set of vowels and the ways we speak and so on. So we wanted a name in our language, and we thought that because I mean the name of the band is important, because it's really I mean it's really the concept behind the band needs to be in the name of the band. I mean, my opinion is that kind of empty names that you see every now and then, that meant something in the 80s, in the 70s, maybe in the 90s, but right now, if the name of the band says nothing about you, I mean, there's a lot of effort that you have to put in to make it work, to explain the concept, especially if the band is a conceptual band, which is basically the case. So we chose that name, which is Black Sun in Mallorquin, because it really reflects the concept of the band, which is like the negative side of the reality you live in, right? Because I mean, everything is reverse. In this band, we talk about internal experiences. We talk about our own labyrinth. We talk about our own emptiness, and it's kind of the reverse side of the normal concept that you could use in your daily life. So that's talking about the inverse of things, the reverse of reality, and hence the name Solnegre. It's the black sun, and it's the sun that it's not shining, but at the same time still a sun that just spreads some light within a darker place, which is our internal labyrinth, which is the concept of this album. So and about how do we sound the way we sound. Okay, yeah, of course, the band, I mean, this proposal was and the proposal for this band was in 2022, so just 1 year ago. But of course, we are no newbies on the scene. I and another band member, which is Rigel, we played in a pre-existing doom metal band, which was quite successful at the time. We put together like 4 albums. We toured with that band, and we were pretty much within the scene. We played with big acts like Draconian, Swallow the Sun, and others band that probably Kirk would know more about this, because he's
he's the guy. Yeah.
This doom metal. I mean, this doom metal kind of thing is very, very, very like a small cult, and there's things going on which everyone knows, but for the most part, it's a very, very niche scene. But with our pre-existing band, we did a lot on that regard, and we toured a lot. We toured the Americas, we toured Europe, so on. Few records together. That's it. So we are quite familiar with this language of the doom metal. That band was not so much about death. Doom was much more like a bit more melodic doom metal and so on, a bit more gothic, if you will. But for the most part, we are quite familiar with this language. And the other guys has also experience in extreme metal, and especially in doom metal. The drummer Tomeu, he's on an amazing band called Golgotha, which is they are known since they have been around since forever. One of the first Spanish doom metal bands. They were out of the scene for a long time. Now they are back. They put down a magnificent album just 1 year ago, and so this is just to explain that we are quite familiar with this language, so we know how to make it sound the way it sounds, and the sound is important, but what's behind the sound is even more important, the concept.
It was interesting to hear or to see when we've done sort of doom metal album reviews, they tend to be about 4 or 5 songs maximum, because they tend to be fairly long. We did one for a band called Mournful Congregation.
And wow, that's amazing. I love them.
And that was 3 songs, and the songs were like 20 minutes long.
Absolutely amazing band. Yeah. Love them.
One of Andy's favorite bands. You could have shot me rather on that one.
That's perfectly understandable.
I just couldn't cope. I just couldn't do it. 25-minute songs was just, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But we found with 80 minutes, and surprisingly, it was probably me that found it the easiest to listen to all 8 songs, because I probably got more immersed versus someone like Kirk, who was struggling at the 80 minute when you get into 80 minutes and 8 songs. And we did have a question about the choice of whether to put this as an album of 8 songs, or would it have been a better idea to put out 4 and 4 and do it 6 months apart. Was there any conversations about doing it and splitting it down into 2 parts, or did you feel that this needed to be an entire body of work that was released at the same time?
Let me tell you that I completely understand your point on the review, stating that this is probably too much. Our initial intention was to do a 6-song release. That was the first idea, that when we started talking. But the point is that we started pre-producing the songs. But I mean, at least from my side, the creativity was like peaking. I mean, I was with new riffs every day. I mean, something opened inside me, or I was channeling something from some other side. I don't know, but I was on a creative frenzy. And what I wanted to do is to do like 4 and 2, maybe like the 2 vessels together, and the rest on a B-side, something like that. But we ended up recording the whole thing. And when we started seeking for a label, the guys at MMR, at Muse Music Records and Tragedy Productions, who are the guys that will release the album, They thought, I mean, their insight was the more the better. So it could be a good idea. I mean, if you have to buy a physical release, you want as much as you can for your money, which I understand. So their point was to pack the whole eight songs in just one release, and we got their point. I mean, there are the guys. I mean, there are the guys financing this, so I understand that their point is perfectly valid. Maybe I would have released this in two parts, maybe, but at the end of the day, this is just a result of this creative frenzy at some point of my life during the last year. So it makes sense to just to compress. I mean, since I will, I mean, probably if I'm not wrong, I will keep the inspiration. Maybe I will be able to put a few more songs together in the future. So it makes sense to use what happened on that point of my life when I had a severe mental breakdown, and that's the product of that specific time. So for me, it's like a picture in a frame from that particular moment of my life. So that these two reasons are the ones that pushed me to release the 8 tracks on a single release, which is a bit too much for a first release. I understand that, but on the other hand, it's a good picture of how I felt back in the day, and all the songs are correlated, and they have some features that link them conceptually or musically. So it made sense to make this way, and I understand the point. But and of course the tracks are very, very long. I mean, I'm a super fan of this band, Mournful Congregation, Ahab. There's an amazing band called the Oak that has like 35-minute songs, something like that. I mean, come on, it's massive. I like that way of processing the music, but I understand that. I mean, obviously, you have to listen to the whole set of tracks from the beginning to the end. It's a bit heavy to do.
It's a challenge on a review sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially if you do 3 or 4 albums in a day, you kind of
yeah.
Not everyone. I think
your...
we did say that at the end of when we were talking about the review about whether it was a stream it or a buy it, and we were kind of like, well, actually, you don't have to listen to all the songs from start to finish. You can pick which songs you want. So it shouldn't be put as a negative because it's hard to listen from start to finish. It shouldn't be put as a negative. I think we were just curious about whether that had ever thought your mind about splitting it. But I do want to ask about the track, September 6th, 1995. What's the significance about that date? Because we initially threw up, because we didn't have lyrics, so we were like, well, we can't look at the lyrics to break this down to try and understand it. So we were both, I think we were all at the same time Google searching like September 6th, 1995. What happened? There must be some sort of historic event or a date that this corresponds to, and we couldn't find anything that jumped out. So could you enlighten us on this one?
Normally when you you did the right thing, because normally when you see a date or a coordinates or something like that, which is also a very popular way of naming tracks, you look for what's that. I mean, what's that I mean? In this case, since this release, it's about everything we went through during the last 30 plus years. There's no public event corresponding to that day or anything happened, anything special. I mean, that was just a normal September day, right? I mean, everything, it rained a lot here in Mallorca, that's it. But that date is the date when I suffered my first severe mental breakdown. I mean, that's the first time I just collapsed, and I needed a lot of help to recoup from that, medical attention, psychiatrical attention, and so on. It was my first mental breakdown, and it was just a lot of. There's no specific event that triggered that, but probably it was some pressure building up, and something happens with 2 different persons, and so. And this is for me. It's a. I mean, just two things about this song. The first is this concept that is for me, it's the date of where that happened, but probably there's a September 6th for every one of us. I mean, you remember very well when was the first time that you felt vulnerable when you felt fragile, when something really, really bad happened to you, and your mind just collapsed and couldn't take it. Perhaps some of your family died. Perhaps you saw, I mean, something happened in your job or in the school or university, you name it. So each one of us has a September 6th. And but for me, that date is quite important, and was my entrance into adult age, because from that day on, nothing was the same. And what is also interesting about this track is that there's a middle section, which I heard you saying that maybe this is a movie insertion. I mean, with violins and so on, with a very slow drum with the snare growing. That part is not a movie insertion. That's a melody that I dreamed of. I mean, I just woke
Oh, okay.
one morning, and that was resounding within my mind. And you know very well that when you got a dream, you tend to forget this real quick. So I rushed to the computer, and I recorded the whole thing with the keyboard and so on. And then after that, I arranged that. But that really came from some other side. I mean, I haven't composed that. This is not from any movie or any other song that I know of. So that was just coming from somewhere, and has a lot of meaning for me. And I just woke up, came to the computer, recorded the whole thing. That's it. And I have September 6th, but it's just like just to say that each one of us has a September 6th, 1985. It's on another date, certainly, but it's just let's say a celebration of that first mental breakdown that anyone has within their lives.
And so something like this sort of track, if you're performing this sort of track, is this a challenge for you emotionally, or is it more of a therapeutic experience?
I would say the second, yes. The whole album it's been a massive therapeutic experience, and probably the way it is composed, it's, I mean, what we were talking before. I mean, it's really easy for people to hang on and to enter the concepts of the songs, because it's a thing. I mean, it's a place where you've been before, because each of the tracks sounds really familiar. I mean, you may not understand the lyrics, you may not be okay with the heaviness of the music, the length of the song, whatever, you name it, but the vibe, the atmosphere, what the song transpires to someone, it's really real. It's the real thing. And I think that's kind of a difference, at least with what I did before, which was much more like this kind of naming the songs after sad things, and this is it, and this is about the ghost of I don't know who, and this song is about the end of the world of I don't know what, but much more stereotypical. This album is about real things that people suffer, and we have experienced this, but probably everyone listening to this music has experienced these situations as well. And try to consolidate or to convert these thoughts into music. It's very therapeutical, because it's like seeing pictures of you in different points of your existence, and you can recall yourself being that guy on that moment where something really bad happened. And it's really helpful. It's really helpful. I mean, it's like there's a therapy from the 19th century, I guess, which is called automatic writing, right? That's you just put your I mean, you grab a pen and you start writing without thinking, and there's a lot of weird things happening there. But for the most part, this is very similar, because it's your subconscious mind trying to put something black and white, in this case in the form of music. And since it's a language that we work we work with this in the past, and we are able to work with this vocabulary up to a point. For us, it's really easy to put that thoughts into music. But we always talk about what you think about this lyrics, what you think about this. I would like to write about this, about that, and it is really therapeutical. That's for sure.
I mean, even from a listening point of view, because before I go on to the next question, I'm just going to share, like, when I listen to a lot of music whilst doing other things. So that's my common practice of I'm always multitasking. So when I'm editing something, I've got music playing, or when I'm doing work in my landscaping business, I'm just got music headphones on. So it's always a background thing. But and me and Andy were talking about the experience that hardly anyone ever nowadays goes home and puts an album on and just
Absolutely.
immerses. It hardly ever happens. And yet, the Spiral Labyrinth was one of the few ones that I've actually come up for review where I've actually felt that I needed to and also wanted to do that experience because it's actually when I tried to do. I felt well. I did listen to it once. I think it might be the third time I was listening to it. I had like the computer windows open. I was making some bullet point notes, and I had some editing going on at the same time at this point. And then I kept finding I was getting distracted because I was so getting pulled back to the music, which was really good.
Wow,
But
that's
I ended up
amazing, man.
realizing I've just got to stop doing everything and just sit there and almost just sit there in the room with no other distractions and just listen. And I found myself every time I listen, I think I've listened to it about 8 times now as in total.
Wow.
And every time I go through the track, there's something different I observe because these are like 8 minute, 9 minute songs in some cases. And there's the obvious things you pick up on the first listen. You go, oh, okay, that's got a good sludgy drop chord there. That's nice. Oh, I like how the keys are adding some texture there. And then you start to notice all the little details as you go through the track, the little bits of layering and the texturing that you've added that kind of fill the song out. And I just wanted to share that because it's an experience I haven't had for a while where I've actually felt that I needed to spend the time and wanted to spend the time listening to an album rather than just using it as background music while I'm doing other things.
Wow. Thanks so much for pointing this because this is really important. That I mean, this is like in occultism and other kinds of things like that, where you see an external part, where you see things going on, but you can dig deep as you want, and there are different layers of knowledge, and there are different layers of things that you can discover within that particular set
Mm.
of things. And for me, making music is just about that. I mean, I'm leaving some clues. There are a lot of clues which are related within this album in the form of certain lyrics at some point, certain keyboards at some point, certain references to other songs I created in the past in other albums for other
Right.
bands. So there are a lot of small details going on, but for the most part, I mean, anyone can listen to the album and get a good vibe of doom, death metal, whatever. But the message in this case is that you can go as deep as you want, and we will have a good time finding all the small details going on,
Mm.
and that's what makes a body of work really powerful, because it's not like a superficial kind of adding riffs and up tempo, down tempo, a bit of keyboards, that's it, go for the next one. No, this is just, I mean, take the time. If I took the time to create a song that complex in terms of this multi-layering, right?
Yeah.
I would love that someone wants to dig deeper and try to understand what's the meaning of a certain set of lyrics, or a riff, or something, that an arrangement from the keyboards or the violins. Everything has a meaning within this album.
Mm.
Everything, absolutely everything has a meaning.
So I want to talk about the last song on the album. So
Okay.
Ephemeral, a song for Nell, which
Yeah.
is an absolutely beautiful song.
Thank
I
you.
thoroughly enjoyed this one, and it was interesting because it wasn't a big favorite of Andy's, but for me and Kirk, we really enjoyed it. We talked about it also from a point of it was kind of after having 7 songs that were
Yeah.
just that somber, and then you bring in this new female element vocal, and it almost refreshes you. It was like a cleansing, like a citrus cleanse on the palate. But I'm really curious about where that song came from and the idea of bringing female vocals in. Talk to me a little bit about that track.
So from the beginning, we knew that if you listen to this old stuff of doom metal in the 90s, you will find a lot of these small songs, like 2 to 3 minutes, with a female doing something very different to the rest of the album. You have this in Anathema, you have this in My Dying Bride, you have this in Paradise Lost. They have their 6, 7, 8 tracks of pure heaviness or their style, whatever. But suddenly something appears out of nothing, and you have a very small song, like an acoustic guitar and a woman singing, or something in a completely different language. So we wanted to pay an homage. On one side, we wanted to pay an homage to this old doom metal recordings from the 90s that really, I mean, that's our foundation, right? We started at the time of tape trading with Rigel, tape trading, My Dying Bride, Candlemas, and Cathedral Records, and that really was kind of a small detail that we wanted to do with female vocals. Gadea, which is a close friend of us, this girl who's performing the vocals, he was really into doing something with us. She had some kind of vocal problems, these nodules that you have on your vocal cords, and she was out of the scene for many years. So we didn't knew that if she was going to jump in this project to do this particular song. But then something happened, and as I mentioned before, I have to be very careful here. But something happened. Is that we have a couple of friends which are close friends of us in the scene here in Mallorca, very well-known people, and they lost a baby. I mean, they got a baby, they lost a baby. The baby's name is Nell in that case. So I mean, we were crushed by that. I mean, we wanted to do this kind of song with a far more friendly vibe, more melodic, with Gadea in the vocals, so on. But at this point, when that happened, which happened last year, when we were putting the record together, we got no choice but to move forward and to do this as an homage, as a tribute to this little child. And so we did. So the idea was to try to, I mean, if you hear, I mean, you listen to the song, all the mood is kind of, you play like 50%. I mean, it's not like you play like a really heavy song, or you play with intention, or you play with a lot of feeling. It's just a dampened song. I mean, everything is dampened. You play like 50%, as if you didn't want to play at that point.
Sorrowful. It felt very sorrowful.
Yeah.
It felt beautiful but sorrowful at the same time.
And this is how we felt. And of course, we put the song together. We asked these guys if we could do this as an homage. They say, oh, please go ahead. We are with you. And we created this song as an homage to this little child. And but at the same time, it reminds me a lot to songs of Paradise Lost, like Christendom. There's a song from Anathema called, in French, is Je fais une promesse, or something like that. It's in French. We wanted to capture that vibe for our record, because we thought that it was a beautiful, let's say, reference to that 90s doom metal scene that we loved and where we grew. But aside of that, the concept for the song is just turns sour really quick because of this thing that happened. And for us, it's like an honor to be able to create this homage for our friends.
That makes a lot of sense, because as I said, it felt beautiful, but it felt very sorrowful. So I could tell there was definitely sorrow in the track, but obviously not knowing exactly the context. But now that makes it even more poignant.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got two last questions for you today. So I want to talk a little bit about guitar solos on the album. Okay. So this was a little bit of a contentious point when we were doing the review. Yeah. So what I was going to say is there's certain elements of the guitar solos that felt very uncharacteristic of what I would naturally hear within the doom and even within the death element. Well, especially in doom. Doom is very melodic leads, not overly complex solos. And there was almost an element of prog metal in some of these solos. So was this something you were very clear that you wanted to have in there, or was this just something that came out naturally when putting the solo parts together?
Both things. I mean, here there's another interesting reference. There's a 90s black metal band that we loved back in the day. It's called Arcturus, which is... Okay. They ended up doing something completely different, but at the beginning they were like this kind of melodic black metal kind of thing with members of, I think, were Mayhem and some other bands. We knew them actually like 10 years ago, and what was amazing. So in their first record, this is a straightforward melodic black metal album, but in the first song there's like a 2-minute solo, but like Steve Vai, this kind of thing. And I said, hey, come on, if we are going to create a doom metal record, I would love to have something like that, just in reference to Arcturus. I mean, okay. But who can you find that could do this? And then Mike appeared. Mike is semi-professional guitarist, a guitar player. He's a session player. He's a virtuoso. He's living here by us. I mean, it's not far away. And the guy is just a massive virtuoso. And I told him, but he's not into doom metal. I mean, he's more into metalcore kind of things, progressive. He has like tens of thousands of visits on his channel. I mean, he's kind of a famous guy, right?
Yeah.
But and we are kind of close friends. But we were like joking, like we'll now play together, right? I mean, you're playing your thing, I'm playing mine. I mean, there's no way we could do something together. And when I recall that this idea of just putting in a solo within one of these songs, I just jumped to him and said, "Hey, come on, can you do something with this?" And I was intending for him to do like a 1 minute solo, like the Arcturus one, which I think it's like 40 seconds something. It's like super virtuoso, but it's 40 seconds. And he said, "Yeah, let me check this. I don't think I'm going to do this, but let me check that." And just a few weeks after, he jumps to me and says, "Hey, I have something for you. I have a good news and a bad news. The good news is that I have your solo. The bad news is that it's like 4 minutes." And I say, "What?" There's no way this is going to fit into the song, right? But after that, I mean, I heard that. I took a deep listen to that, and I say, "Hey, come on, I cannot cut this guy. I mean, he's because he understands the concept of the song of being a vessel or of something else, and being empty, and being just let's say a relay to transmit things that come from other sides, and this kind of creative energy and so on. So he understood the concept of the song, but he adapted this to his playing. So I wasn't like, okay, I'm going to cut apart, cut 2 minutes, because Solnegre is not a normal band, in the sense that we don't play live, we don't rehearse, we don't do nothing. We are a collective of people. I mean, right now I'm here. I may be here for the next album. Maybe Rigel will be. Maybe no. I don't know. So it's not a fixed lineup band. It's just a collective of people doing doom metal. So I thought that probably the best way to keep this integrity is to let Mike do his thing the way he wanted, and to respect his creativity and the light he brought to this song. It's just massive. I haven't seen anyone do something like this before, and probably I don't know what will happen in the future. Maybe we'll keep working together for some other songs. Maybe no, but I'm no one to, let's say, to cut his performance short or anything like that, because I think his intention is very well in place, and I have to respect that. And I have some words with producers and guys on the semi-professional world, and say, okay, this solo is massive, but this is more for a Steve Vai song, right? It's not for a doom metal band. And on Vessel 2, there's another guy, Camilo, doing the solo for that song. And I thought that was convenient. If you have a massive solo on Vessel 1, make a small remembrance on that one, on Vessel 2. The player on that song is Camilo Espina. He's a death metal musician. He's into melodic and death metal. They have a band here, and they are touring too. And but I'm giving complete freedom to do whatever they want to the people I invite to the project. And I don't feel I have any authority to let's say cut someone short when it's about playing. So I let the guys do whatever they consider it's interesting for the music, and I respect that. I have to respect that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, what's the rest of the plan now? So, obviously, the album comes out. Is it out now? I can't even remember by now. Is it out tomorrow or Friday? Or?
It's Friday.
It is Friday. Yeah, it's the 6th, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the album comes out on the 6th. So, what's the rest of the plans now going forward with the bands? Obviously, as you're saying, you're all sort of spread out. So, are you going straight back to work on writing new material, or having a bit of a break for a little bit, or?
Don't think so. The idea is that all of us, we are in different bands, which are much more normal bands, on which you rehearse, you tour, you play live. Each one of us. But Solnegre it's a good it's a point of convergence of
Yeah.
on the feelings that we have towards these certain sets of feelings and so on. So Solnegre will stay alive for long because it's not going to require. I mean, it's not a very demanding band in terms of rehearsing, touring, and so on. The idea is that the Spiral Labyrinth will be out on Friday 6th, which is this Friday, through Muse Music Records and Tragedy Productions for the Americas. Muse Music Records deals
Yes.
with the European part, and these guys of Tragedy Productions are from South America, Chile, and they will be, let's say, promoting the album from there. In the future, we have something going on which you may not like, which is a 20-minute song. But we still work.
I might do. You never know.
Yeah. We are on the pre-production phase, and our intention is to record that massive 20-something minute song by maybe December this year, January maybe next year. Probably this weekend we'll have a meeting and we will decide about dates and so on. But that's another challenge that we have, to make a very long song, but with different moods, different parts, different vibes. But for the most part, Solnegre will be our shelter, the place where we are going to go when we feel that we have something to say in respect to these feelings, these kind of the need for relief, the need for to express what's happening. So for the most part, it will be a recurring place in our lives for the coming years, because we all feel that at some point we have something to express. And with our normal bands, which are much more stoner or death metal, or in the case of Ross, of Mike, it's like metalcore or so on. We will all keep playing with our regular bands, doing our things, releasing whatever. But Solnegre will be our meeting point to express this. So Solnegre will be alive for the coming years, and we plan. I mean, we are not in a rush because we want to enjoy this release, and we want to be. I mean, we want to be consistent with what we do, and there's no point. I mean, there's no point into releasing an album every 5 years, because you are very like dead. I mean, after 1 year, no one remembers you, and that's I mean, that's a no-brainer. But on the other hand, makes little sense to release an album every year unless you are trying to tour, trying to play live, go to festivals and so on, and that's a completely different approach that we don't have. So this is a precious thing that we have, and we will keep it as it is. And finally, we are a lot into, how to say this. We don't do this obviously for any economic profit, in the sense that of course the underground music, and especially this kind of styles, are just money losing machines. I mean, and this is what it is. But we decided that we will give all the proceeds from the digital and physical sales from Solnegre to animal shelters, because we are yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is a thing that we agreed. And we think that we can use our music to help someone. Of course, there are a lot of different causes that that we could endorse, but in our case, we decided that all the proceeds from Solnegre until new order will be donated in full to animal shelters, which is a cause that we defend, and that we think that, I mean, it's a thing that it's really important for us. But for the most part, this is what is going to be Solnegre for the coming years.
Okay. Well, that's amazing. I just want to say a massive thank you for spending some time with me this evening, to having a chat about the music, chatting about the album, talk about the experience. I want to say to everyone watching, go and buy the album. Don't just stream it. Streaming gives them pennies. Go and actually buy a digital download. And if they do, will you have physical CDs on this?
We'll have physical CDs in digipack format, and also digital downloads through Bandcamp and through our own Bandcamp and the record label Bandcamp. So remember that. Of course, streaming is great because it's the way people consume music nowadays, but There's an interesting point with the money, which is going to be donated to a good cause. So buy it, no doubt.
Yeah, see, my review point on this is don't use streaming platforms. Go to Bandcamp, buy a CD, or do a physical CD or digital download. Don't go on streaming platforms. Don't like them, hate them personally. Don't like them. Give money to artists. That's what they deserve. They've done all the work, and in this case, give it to the animal shelter. But yeah, just want to say a big thank you for joining me on the channel today.
Thanks to you guys. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here with you guys.